Ida kumbayi kalam news local news dumbayi wonoso dabu kalam le nabata jeji munkani.
As soon as this announcement is made, members from within the refugee and host community emerge from the different villages to receive food aid. This supplementary food aid from Pentecostal Assemblies of God, or known as PAG, a non-governmental organization with funding from Emergency Relief and Development Overseas and Canadian Food Grains Bank, targets vulnerable groups including pregnant and lactating women and people with special needs. Agio Lydia, Beatrice Adania and Aikoru Gloria are lactating mothers from the host community who complain that the burden to fend for their families rests on them due to negligence of their husbands, a case often reported in these remote communities.
As a common son, Rostemo, after PAG no the phone. I Jota Domani le, Alakari Dickery, and the Patolanda, the camouflage for your says a money where I thought you was about money, the little as a command called the Lamana Alaro. I have a vasa some family customer, a roti, or wherever Roger taxi, till a sar Simanda, and their business in Gandhi, Texas, business, and Gakuma Sally for Serga, watching dinner and Bamana, and Babala, Mandama, Genjo.
Since the year 2017, the PAG supplementary feeding project is being implemented in the villages of Ofua, Omugo and Tika 4 zones and 5 health centers of Rhino Camp refugee settlement in Teregu and Madiokolo districts, supporting up to 2,250 refugees and host communities. The project was primarily launched to supplement the small quantity provided under the World Food Program, with reports indicating that Tika Zone 4 is the worst hit by malnutrition in the whole settlement. The refugees' families are only given 50 square meter pieces of land, which restricts the ability to produce enough food for consumption, unless an agreement is reached with the landowners from the host community. Local leaders have called for more investment in the host community if the refugees are to obtain sufficient support.
In this pandemic, we do have a lot of challenges. One of the challenges that we do face here, children, let me say people who are at the school, together with the students, they have actually, the school was like, everything was being locked down. They are at home, then the food that the entire family is supposed to eat has become so low because of now the population. Because previously, when these children were at the home, were in the school, their feeding is scattered at the school. But as this pandemic, so children are now at home, so it has now made the food has become so low. And then the concern about the other challenge is actually the elderly people. Concern about PWDs, you may find that since the lockdown is there, then things like food items people used to feed this thing from Arua, Kambala. Since this thing was actually locked, you may find that food has become a problem. And then too, the prices of the food items has been so increased. There's also death rate, high death rate because of hunger.
Food security, I think this year is going to worse because like those of categories of people you have been mentioned, lactating mothers, pregnant mothers, PSN, older people, we are suffering because of food shortage. Some 2 years ago, our services are okay, but it started from last year up to this year when the COVID-19 has affected the financials. We supporting the refugees community Rhino Camp. It was bad because now our food has been cut, and some months ago there was no rain. The crops are burned down, but we try to communicate with some partners who are helping about the livelihood, to come and help this community. Part of food security, somehow a lot of sickness is just occurring in the community because of shortage of food. Those malaria also is very common. Children are suffering on the ground.
Gideon Angwerini, the in-charge at Ofua Health Center 3, confirms that many refugees and members of the community have been visiting the health facility and aware that they are suffering from malnutrition. But once these are identified, they are put on a supplementary food assistance from the health center.
At some cases, we normally get those patients who have malnutrition, especially the undernutrition bit of it, who are undernourished, and then they come for a different reason at the health facility. So you find that when they come, we identify the malnutrition in them, and then we classify under which malnutrition they lie in, and then we give them appropriate nutrition services.
Mrs. Veronica Ropani, a nurse counselor at the same facility, says,
Poor nutrition, let me talk on the behalf of the HIV clients themselves. You see that with this infection, their immunity is already low. Most of the catchment population here are the refugees, though we also serve to the nationals at the same time. So now with the provision of this CSB Plus, it has helped them a lot. At the beginning, previously, when those services were not there, you realize that someone will tell you, how can I take drugs on empty stomach? I don't have something to eat, or the food that is given to me is very little. I can't take the drugs. But now, when PAG came in to begin supporting them, they have picked that initiative that I know porridge is there for me, I must take mine.
Mr. Feni Twaib, the chairman for West Nile Humanitarian Platform, the body that brings together all humanitarian actors in the region, believes that reduced food rations by WFP has had adverse impact on the refugees.
So I think what is true is the cut of food rations has affected refugees greatly. We have, in the refugee camp, we have other people who are vulnerable, extremely vulnerable. We have people with disability, people with HIV/AIDS, breastfeeding mothers who need sufficient food to keep them going, because the issue of malnutrition is there, even including the children that are there. The current setup, we think, is to supplement on already the situation that is existing. If you go in the camp, the land that is given for refugees to cultivate where they are settled, it is a very small piece of land. Now, if partners are there to help, I think it is something that is so great. We want to thank the partners. Even other partners help up to the treatment center here in Arua, here, treatment center, Regional Referral Hospital, like MSF. So what is important is to continue supporting these people who are already there in need, so that we save lives and live in dignity.
However, despite the call for more support, Dennis Mbaguta, the Rhino Camp refugee settlement camp commander, expresses concern on possibilities that WFP may further cut the food ration, increasing fears that the situation can worsen.
It's a great chance that we have PAG as a partner coming in to help the vulnerable in the settlement. Of course, they are getting 100%, and now from 100 it was reduced to 60%. And now this food, they give it to them to cover a period of 2 months. Many of them finish it in the first month. But of course, another area would be like the trainings, killing them, the vocational trainings. So we would need, if it were possible, to have several institutions that skill them in different trades, different skills, and then they are able to earn income. Supplementary feeding, we actually encourage it so much. It's a call on the partners to increase on the supplementary feeding, on the livelihoods, so that, on the skilling, so that our beneficiaries have sources of income.
In light of the challenges, the government of Uganda sees the solution to the food shortage in long-term planning for both the refugees and the host community, as opposed to short-term food handout.
I must say that WFP has reduced food because they said donors were unable to cope with the number of people, and they were unable to give enough food. So the reduction of food by WFP is not based on assessment of malnutrition and the level of self-reliance by the communities. It is just based on the amount of resources that they get from donors. But then if donors continue to reduce funding, then WFP is going to continue to reduce food. What will happen? Refugees will riot, refugees will move up and down. There will be a lot of crime, and we wouldn't like to have a community full of crime. If resources are available, they should also be helped to plant more trees. There are quick maturing tree seedlings like the colonial eucalyptus, these hybrid eucalyptus trees. Those trees can grow in 5 years and become poles. You can sell and get money. If women and girls are always raped because they are looking for firewood, then you would prevent gender-based violence. They would also get money to buy sanitary material. They would get money even to buy additional food. We have encouraged the traders to take food to be sold in the settlements and to have like a trade fair. And so refugees who also have their food can bring there and sell, and that improves the challenge of mobility. So we still appeal to WFP to ensure that they do not reduce the food rations, and we are going to conduct a series of meetings with WFP and other partners to ensure that refugees have sufficient food to support them. Of course, they give cooking oil, they give also pulses, and some salt once in a while.
Not very long ago, this part was also in war. People ran to South Sudan, and the effects are still being felt. Food ratios being cut. Why is it being cut? It is being cut because the numbers are increasing, and also the environment is not permitting. You have had the COVID that came in, and it has shattered the economy seriously. Number of people who are affected is extremely increasing. Number of early pregnancies, numbers of early marriages, numbers of separations with the families, children running away because the conditions are very bad, numbers of defilement. Mention those vices. There are very many that have come on board with COVID. The presence of the refugees in our district places additional responsibility on us to ensure that these people stay safely with our community. There should be some sense of integration. A number of young girls who should have been in school, protected in schools, busy with the education, have joined the marriage life. Painfully, they are in marriage. So if resources are not available and we are beginning to cut, it then means we are having the problem haphazardly sorted out. We are not even halfway in sorting out this problem. Take it from me, we are going to have an influx of unwanted pregnancies, unwanted marriages, whose products are babies that are not fit to survive on their own. They will need support. The local community is very vulnerable, extremely vulnerable, more probably vulnerable than the refugees themselves. We need to put in place livelihood enhancement programs, and this cannot be the local government alone. I now make a call to partners. We should be emphasizing more investments in the host community. So we need to put our heads together in terms of this.
This stands for a long-term solution to food insecurity in the settlements. It's reiterated by PAG Emergency Coordinator Mr. Moses Shesmond Esalu, who says transitioning into livelihood projects is a better solution.
Giving CSB Plus, it is so good because it provides quick relief to those that are at the risk of malnutrition or those that are already malnourished, those that are moderately or severely malnourished, in order to recover from malnutrition. But it's not a sustainable option. So we are looking towards in the next phase of this project, we look towards transiting into livelihood support. So in that phase, we shall go by the findings of the survey that we intend to carry out. So that survey, that situational analysis shall inform the project, the design of the project and the activities that shall be supported, so that the participants that we are serving right now, that are in the current project, and those that we shall perhaps identify, those others that we shall identify to be part of the next phase. So we believe that by supporting them with the livelihood interventions, it will be a long-term support. It will be a sustainable support, because they will come up with initiatives that shall help them to either directly have food in terms of crops, or in terms of birds or animals that they can rear, and that shall provide them a long-lasting solution to their malnutrition needs.
Since the year 2013, over 1 million South Sudanese have fled the civil war into neighboring Uganda. These, together with their Ugandan hosts, have benefited from the different projects from humanitarian partners, including the food donations from PAG. But with no clear indication of when the war could finally stop, partners are increasingly looking at long-term solutions that could lead to self-sustainability in the face of reducing donor support.